Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. I hope you guys are enjoying an amazing sports day at Game 7, PGA Championship, NHL Game 7 coming up here. And you got us in the middle of it all. So, real excited to talk about what is going on with Michigan. Their NIL could be a little troubling right now. So, we're going to get into some of the details that we found out. Talk a little recruiting. The month coming up, your conditioning, Maymester is going on right now. So, the kids are starting to get dialed up, and it's going to be it's going to be a big time here. I'm really excited about it. As always, I enjoy you guys being on here. Thank you for being a part of the Scoop family. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. If you want to help us out in a huge way, and this was amazing last night because a bunch of people did it. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I saw there's a big surge of them yesterday, which was great. So whoever did that, thank you. If everyone was at dinner and got their phones out and said, everybody leave a 5-star review, but it happened and it was really cool. So just thank you guys for that have been supporting our other feeds other than YouTube. So it all helps. And I just appreciate you guys so much. So we're going to get right into it with Nevada. And also Caden Dixon-Wyatt had to move to tomorrow. So he was scheduled for today. He had to move to tomorrow. He had an appointment this afternoon, which is completely fine. So he's going to be late tomorrow night. So it's going to be an interesting show because he's West Coast, but I'm really excited to talk to him and his mom for a little bit tonight to get the show kind of dialed in. But I'm excited to interview Kate. I think you guys are going to love him. But Nevada, Michigan's having problems. Who could have seen this coming? Turns out it's hard to raise money when you've been cheating and you're about to get smashed with the hammer. What are some of the things you're hearing about their NIL fundraising and deals potentially going sideways?
Well, I want you to know that Nevadabuck is injured. Injured Nevadabuck, so almost not able to podcast today. Had a freak injury with a brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tart. I like made these Pop Tarts, and the Pop Tart I like to like get them right out of the toaster, and somehow like the cinnamon was like melted. It was like and it dripped on my finger. It was like molten lava, and I got this giant blister on my hand from a brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tart. So I want you guys to know that I'm playing hurt. I'm playing injured here, but like the great ones, man. You come to play. We have a podcast here, so I'm doing it, but I'm 70% at best right now with a Pop Tart injury.
That's about like the NIL for Michigan. I'm glad you're surviving though. I mean, that's
Oh,
amazing. Do you put it in the toaster or do you put it in like some other
no, I
newfangled?
have a I have a toaster, and I like to get it out of the toaster, pretty quickly because I like it when it's warm. But this was like somehow like the cinnamon like turned into like liquid, and it dripped on my hand, and like it burned the heck out of my hand. Like I literally feel like I should have some sort of a class action suit against Pop Tarts for this thing, kind of like the coffee McDonald's thing. I was injured.
Yes,
I was injured, and
yes.
this should not stand.
I'm just glad that you're fighting through it and you're battling like the tough old man that you are, the tough old crusty, grumpy old man that you are. You're like, I gotta watch golf
Uh,
today, and I gotta watch the NBA, and we gotta go at 7:10, and can we move it to
uh,
7:30 so I can watch Scotty Scheffler win by 6? But yeah,
exactly.
I'm glad that you're gutting it out. But
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about this. If I'm their general manager or if I'm their, collective or whatever, like how hard is it in this swirl of everybody leaving, president leaving, hammer coming? How hard would it to be gotten to fundraise? And again, just like I want to ask you guys this and put this in the chat. How hard would it be to fundraise for a team that's potentially gonna have a postseason ban? I mean, they'd be like spending on an NFL team that can't go to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. Like, you'd think you might want to sit that year out. Now, granted, you're still Michigan, but I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard enough to raise money for like Ohio State who just won a national title, but to raise it for a team that potentially is going to get hammered and sanctioned and postseason banned, going to be weird. It's going to be hard. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, no, it is. And what's the kind of the word that's kind of circulating throughout the Michigan fundraising community right now is that they're going to get hit, and that they're being told they're going to get hit, and they're starting to realize that they're getting hit. And one of the big tells has been, remember how like for a little bit everything we heard was Larry Ellison, Larry Ellison, Larry Ellison, world's richest man, Michigan fan, wife number 9, Michigan fan, and we got unlimited money. Well, Larry Ellison isn't giving any more money to Michigan NIL, and so now Michigan, there's strong undercurrent that they have not reached their commitment to Underwood, and that there's some level of dissatisfaction on that, and that their entire fundraising apparatus right now is really kind of stalled. And the prima facie evidence of this, as we discussed this, on one of our previous shows, was the fact that they're sitting at 47th right now in recruiting. And none of these things, like, everybody's want to look at these things and say, oh, it's just a coincidence that now Michigan's trying to suspend Sharon Moore. Now it's just a coincidence that Yoko Ono is leaving for Florida. Now it's just a coincidence that our recruiting has literally stopped dead in the water. It's a coincidence. We're being out recruited by Vanderbilt and Iowa State and other powerhouses. These aren't coincidences. They're really having a difficult time selling their story and raising money. And if you can't raise money and you can't tell your story, and you've got a coach that's staring down the barrel of, I mean, their best case scenario is that the coach is suspended for what, 4 games or 6 games or whatever it is. I truly believe that he's gone. I truly believe that he'll get at least a 1 year show cause suspension from the NCAA, and Michigan's gonna have to move on. So they're literally right now in a situation where the people that are coming don't know who the head coach is going to be. And that's, they talked about how, when a head coach leaves, players have a window to transfer. Well, same things happens when a school is sanctioned by the NCAA. And that's an important thing to remember, because once a sanction comes out from the NCAA, there's a window that opens up for these players to to move. So as tough as it is for Michigan, as we look at their roster right now, we're like, man, there's just not a lot there. And then we look at the recruiting and say, wow, there's just not a lot there. And then we say, when their coach gets hit, when the NCAA gets hit, people can leave, then there sure as heck isn't going to be a lot left there. So yeah, I really don't know where Michigan goes. I think they made a strategic blunder by not realizing that last year was a lost cause. You remember this? I don't remember. Was it? Yeah, maybe it was this time last year. We had Yoder, and we all love Yoder. And Yoder's, he's kind of a clown, but a lovable clown. And he's on and talking about how, you know, who was the quarterback? What was the name of the? I can't even remember the name of who was the quarterback? Orgy.
Orgy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to be a Heisman thing, and Michigan was going to be in the national championship picture. We're like, what? Are you out of your mind? They'll be lucky to win 7 games in the regular season. The over. We were betting big time money on the over under on Michigan wins was 9.5, and we were personally moving the line down on that thing, down to 8.5, down to 7.5. Um, they should have taken their medicine then. They should have taken that. They should have realized that that season was a lost cause, but they didn't. They decided to brass it out. So they had this lost season where they basically do nothing, go through it, and now they're delaying it again because it's all coming down now. When Bryce Underwood's now on campus, they could have had a portion of this behind him. And I think that they really, really blundered on this. I think that Michigan could not have played these cards any worse, and it's showing up in their fundraising. It's showing up in the Michigan administration. It's out there in the Michigan community. Right? They know what's coming. The only people that don't seem to, I don't even believe that Chris Ballas and some of those other idiots don't know what's going. I think they know what's coming, but they're trying to sell a bill of goods to the Michigan fans to keep them around on their websites, because they know that how depressed people are going to get when this ultimately hits, and they're proven to be wrong again. And I tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go, we didn't know. It's kind of like the whole Joe Biden. We didn't know Joe Biden was cognitively impaired. Everybody's going, oh, we didn't know. We didn't know. They're going to say, we didn't know that Michigan was going to get hit. The NCAA overreached. Blah 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 blah. That's what's going to happen. That's what's happening. Michigan NIL, it's completely hit the skids right now, and the recruiting for them is really in the dumps, and that's a fact.
Yeah, and I think that something that people have to realize is this happens all the time, where there's guys, humongous names in the world of fundraising and giving and whatever, that make promises and then they don't always write the check, or they delay in writing the check, or the check never shows. And I talked about this because I used to be like when I was on the inside, and even still, I have people that talk to me in development, and it's like you'd be shocked. There are people that you're like, oh, well, there's no way he can't cover that, or he doesn't want to. It's just no, it's not even that. It's just they just don't want to do it. So, like I said, it's it's one thing to get to make the ask. It's another thing for the person to commit to it. But then the final mountain is to actually get the money in the drawer, and that's tough. And again, there might have been people promising certain amounts of money to Michigan, and all of a sudden, with again, if I committed to Ohio State and said, look, I want to give you guys this much money for NIL, and all of a sudden I found out that Ryan Day cheated and we're getting a bowl ban and we're not going to, whatever. Like, I'd be like, well, why don't I hold my money until we have a season that can actually count? Because that's just the mindset. Because again, with Ohio State football, it's the national championship or bust. That's it. I mean, again, we've won a million Big Ten championships in the last 25 years, and nobody cares about winning the Big Ten. I promise you. You win the Natty, that's it. That's the thing. So, like again, when you start making these promises to some of these kids, and like if you're Underwood, and I'm the king of saying that I believe a quarterback is a function of its infrastructure. I always say that. I'm like, look, again, I know Tim Couch, humongous bust with the Cleveland Browns, one of the busts of all time. But if you're a Browns fan like I was in '99, like you can't imagine if Peyton Manning would have gone to the Browns in '99 instead of the Colts in '98. Remember, they're 1 year apart. I don't know if Peyton could have became Peyton, because if you get pulverized by an offensive line, I just think that it's tough. Peyton Manning's incredible, top 5-ish quarterback of all time. But when he showed up to Indy, he had Marshall Faulk and Marvin Harrison. I mean, he already had some like Hall of Fame players in place, and they draft Edgerrin, they draft Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. So your life's, and they had a first round left tackle to boot when he showed up. So again, when those pieces are in place, it's a lot easier. So if you're Underwood and you're looking at this recruiting, and again, we put it on the screen yesterday. They're 46th in the nation currently. They have 4 3-star commitments and 1 4-star commitment, their quarterback. That's it. And I keep making this point about all of these top 5 lists that keep coming out, or official visits set. And you just don't see Michigan very often. I mean, Michigan's not in the factor. Ohio State is. And given the climate of infinite official visits, like you would think if a kid would come to Ohio, he'd drive 3 hours north and go check out Ann Arbor, but it's not happening, especially when Michigan can pay for it. So yeah, it's this is going to be an amazing like 3-4 weeks as we get into this, because we're getting, I mean, it's the beginning of June is when this kicks off, like the 6th and 7th, and it's getting close. I mean, this is going to be an incredible summer. I'm so excited about it. Nevada, I mean, are you ready for early June when this thing kicks off?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been trying to get information on this now for 18 months, getting little glibs and globs. But I think people are finally going to see what we've known for all this time. And, as stuff comes out, I think people are like, wow, did they really do that? I'm shocked. Wow, that's terrible. Wow, I can't believe they're not getting the death penalty. And we're like saying, yeah, that's what we've been saying to you. I mean, the fact that they were on probation already and then sending stallions out there on the sidelines in Central Michigan, yeah, 54 separate occasions of violation of the advanced scouting rule. Um, a culture where multiple staff members knew about the scheme and didn't report it to compliance, and this is all documented. This isn't Nevadabuck internet blather, or Kirk Barton rumor boy. This is all stuff that's on the record, and they just didn't bother to, to report it. So somehow, under the most generous treatment, Minter knows, uh, Denard Robinson knows, Partridge knows, but they didn't tell Harbaugh. And I mean, it's like like I said, it's a crazy story when you unwrap it. And June 6th and 7th, it's going to be great because it's all over. There's no more playing. There's no more messing around. There's no more shucking and jiving and kicking the can down the road and bets and we'll see you in court and you don't want this smoke and all that stuff goes away. on June 6th and 7th because they're going to be heard. They're going to they're going to be it's going to be adjudicated by the same people that have been investigating this thing. And if they want to appeal it, they appeal it to the same body that investigated it and adjudicated it. So good luck with this one, Michigan. I already know the story though. I'm going on record with it. Massive overreach. That's what they'll go with. That'll be the word of the day. Massive overreach. NCAA is trying to make an example of us. NCAA is irrelevant, but they're trying to stay relevant by doing this. They're being big meanies, and we didn't do anything wrong. This is where it should be. I mean, that's going to be the story of the day. Um, 30 days hence from June 6th or 7th. That's Nevadabuck's final answer. Despite my injury, I'm still lucid enough, still strong enough, Nevada strong to come up with that. But yeah, no, Michigan's cooked. I am more convinced today than ever that Michigan is the outcome for Michigan is going to be incredibly bad for them, and that they don't even have I don't even think they even have an idea of how bad it's going to be. I think it's going to be worse.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I can't understand is that they don't understand that, when you're repeat offenders and you're non-compliant, like what they did was already like historically bad, but then the behavior afterward has almost been worse, that's what's crazy to me is like they've already committed the biggest cheating scandal in the history of, college sports. And then all of a sudden, it's like Sharon Moore, like he gets busted and then he's deleting text messages. Like he's already on probation. He's already a repeat offender. And God, I don't know. And something I don't know is like, I'd love to know when you look at his contract, the verbiage that Jim Harbaugh wanted where, his money would be guaranteed regardless of any outcome of all this, of the NCAA investigation. I would bet Sharon doesn't have language like that. He's probably excited to be the University of Michigan's coach, get a chunk of money for a couple of years, and then get put out to pasture. So I'm like you. I don't know how you don't fire hose the whole thing when you see what's gone on. Nevada, any other thoughts on the topic? We're going to talk a little bit about this Jameer Perez thing because this is kind of hilarious.
No, just I'm going with the final answer. 1 year show cause Sharon Moore, and he never coaches another game at Michigan. Calling my shot, planting the flag. Remember who said it? Nevada Buck, Sharon Moore done at Michigan. Pack up your stuff, Sharon, and move on down the road.
Yeah, little bit of a surprise here. I'm not sure how much people really should care about this, but Jameer Perez is a kid out of Glenville. He's the 360-pound defensive tackle, 3-star kid, ranked in the thousands. Commits to the Florida Gators today after his official visit, and it's hard for me to really take it super seriously, just because it's May and kids get excited, and I've seen like Jerome Baker did this where he's like, I'm a Florida Gator, and he does like the stupid like this thing, and I want to play in the SEC, and then like when everything shook out, obviously never made it to Florida, ends up being a great Buckeye. He's playing for the Browns now, actually. Nevada, obviously kids get excited, but I know you have no worry on anything like this, but like, I guess, you've been doing this for 30 years. What's your reaction when you see a kid who I think kind of was, I don't want to say it was like a fringe take for Ohio State, but, there were always some kids that we took from Glenville that were kind of like favors to Ted Sr., so that we could get Teddy and Dante and, Darius Hyler is a 5-star kid, Troy, Marshawn. Like we would take a kid. Sometimes it might have been a bit of a project, and this seems like that's what this kid is. But any thoughts on this? Because this was kind of surprising. Because I thought it was surprising that we offered him this early without him coming to camp yet. But I know that we need big bodies in the middle, and he is a big body in the middle. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, if we really want him, we'll get him. And I am my worry degree on a Florida commitment in May for a Glenville kid is about point 0.2 on a scale of 100. And if we want, if he's just a fringe guy, if he's just a guy, if he was a project, if he's a development, if he's a favorite of Ted Ginn Sr., then go be a Gator. Go be great. Go do whatever it is that you do down there in Gainesville. But if we want him, we'll get him. And that's an easy decommit from Florida to Ohio State. Ohio State's going to be in his ear, the whole year. Ted Ginn Sr. is going to be in his ear. So I don't worry about recruits. And I said this many times. I this last time I ever swore that I would never worry about another recruit was prior comma Terrell. Well, after that, they're all replaceable. It's nice to get certain guys, and I'm excited for every recruit that we get, but I am never going to be upset about missing on a 3-star kid from Glenville. I don't like to see Glenville kids go elsewhere, but sometimes, every time that has happened, it's always worked out for the best. Every time that a kid from Glenville has gone off on his own and said, I need to go to West Virginia, I need to go to USC, I need to go whatever it is, it's literally the last time we ever hear from that kid again. So, you know, I, I'm gonna take a wait and see, and we'll see what happens on this one.
Yeah, I remember like some famous like Cordell Scott went to Illinois because again, like some of these kids, they just can't. They want to be contrarian. They don't want to be like the Glenville pipeline. So he literally committed to Ron Zook instead of Jim Dressel, and it's like that's fine. I'm sure life went on. Andre Walker was the greatest one ever because like when he committed to USC on signing day, I mean, I was on staff and I was like, and again, he was like, there's projects, and then there's like Andre. Andre's like 400 pounds, like 6'8", looked like Chewbacca, and like, and he goes to SC, and I'm like, this will work out swimmingly for him. So of course he goes out there, and like if a kid wants to go to LA, that's fine, but like, is a kid really going to be able to focus in LA? Trying to run with that USC crowd. I mean, maybe back in the day they were monsters on that team, but they had been monsters for a little bit when he went there, and and again had a whatever career, didn't get drafted, and whatever. And again, at the end of the day, obviously, you want to go where you're most comfortable. And I always tell the kids, don't worry about who the coach is because the coach can always change. I don't care who it is. If it's Brian Hartline, Ryan Day, I've seen Charlie Weiss get a 10-year extension and he got fired like 4 years into it. So whatever amount of security that you think somebody has, if they're good, they're going to have options. Like NFL teams will come after Ryan Day every offseason for the rest of our lives. But he's got signed a 7-year extension. So you're going to love that. But I think, some of these kids, I think that they just get so excited on these visits and they get caught up in he said that I'm an SEC player and I want to play in the SEC. And I'm like, well, I don't know if you watched the playoffs last year, but we beat the best teams in the SEC. I mean, we beat Texas and we beat Notre Dame, who beat Georgia, who was the SEC champion. So, and we smashed Tennessee and Columbus. So I don't know, man. It's interesting when these kids make these early commitments, and I'm like you. I just don't think that they're worth anything. They never are. It was a little surprising because it was this random Sunday afternoon, and it's like Glenville kid commits to the Florida Gators. So yeah, not much consternation. Nevada, it's Maymester. Summer conditioning is kicking off. Camps are coming. What are you looking forward to over these next few weeks? Because this is about to be a crazy run leading up to
Yeah.
June.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you got some guys that are making moves on, Austin Seyerveld's the guy that is really, blowing up the chart. We've talked about Arvell Reese and how, helping technician has got him as kind of his breakout player of the year. Um, you know, Jermaine Matthews, Malik Hartford, just these young guys, having a chance to go. But the offensive line, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the offensive line has really kind of taken it upon themselves that they've gone from team perceived team weakness to team strength, a position where we're returning 4 starting guys, all albeit at different positions, starting them and Ethan, the number one offensive tackle in the portal. That's your starting 5, and they really want to be the anchor for this team. And it's going to be interesting to see how they hit it in May. They were great through winter conditioning. They were great in the spring, and now let's see how they go in the summer and into the fall. But I think this is going to be a team that's going to be led by the offensive line, which is really going to so buy your stock in those running backs, buy your stock in that young quarterback, because I think it all starts up front. We've talked about how Peyton Manning would have been Peyton Manning without with weapons and a great offensive line in front of him. Well, when you've got a great offensive line in front of it, it can make life easy for James Peoples, for C.J. Donaldson, and for Julian Sane. So I'm looking to see this offensive line take another step forward during the summer and continue to lead this team.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm excited to see the depth that we're gonna have. All right, we got 3 super chats. Miss Pinky, thanks for the 5. Is the hearing live streamed? Question. Do because we could have a special show. I wish. Pop some corn and watch the demise of Michigan. I wish. I would pay a pretty handsome amount to watch a pay-per-view, but they don't. I don't think they live stream these hearings. Correct, Nevada?
I've never seen them live stream before. The first time
Yeah.
I'd ever seen an NCAA proceeding on tape was that Connor Stallions thing that he was so proud to put on that
Yeah.
mockumentary where he's like, they're asking him the question about being on the sideline in Central Michigan, and he's like, I can't remember. I'm on the sideline of lots of games. I can't remember if that was me or not. I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors by doing that. Like you think you're being clever and you're thinking, see, I didn't admit it. I didn't say no. I didn't say yes. See how clever I am. Like the NCAA is not stupid. They're not stupid. They know it was you, and now you're continuing to lie. You're hurting the case. But yeah, I would definitely pay big money to watch Michigan squirm on this thing because there's gonna be lots of squirmy, cringy moments on June 6th and 7th. That's for sure.
Well, and another thing that we don't really talk enough about is that, like Jim McElwain retired. Like, I'm like, dude, you don't retire when you've got like 2 years left on your contract with like paying you $1.2 million a year and you're a head coach in the MAC. Like, you might try to get fired, not for cause, but and then collect your money. But like coaches, I mean, he's young. He's like early 60s. Like that guy didn't give back 2.4 million or whatever it was. I was like, there's just no way. Because the fact finding behind that deal, like who let him on, obviously we know the one coach got fired, and then McElwain gets chased out of there. I just like that's something that I don't think we talk enough about because it was because Connor. I mean, Connor cost that staff, and again, maybe they're being clever. You'd think that the head coach probably had to know about it because, like you said, if you're a MAC school going on the road, like you don't pack like 17 airplanes or 17 buses. You might take like 3 little buses over to Michigan State and play your game. So he's gonna know everybody that's on that sideline. So when you got Connor in his off-brand shoes and he's got his sunglasses on and 7 p.m. in September or August, whatever it was. Like it was just the strangest. But you're right. That was a clip that was, I don't say chilling, but when you look at the context of it, I'm like, he's just really like that. Like, oh, I don't know who it is, and I go to a lot of football games, and I just don't know when you're at the mercy of the NCAA. I just don't know how that helps you. Beth and Karis, thanks for the deuce scoop. Meet up next for the hearing. Nevada OH. Beth and Karis, I hope you guys are doing good. I wish, man, I'd love to have a meetup at the hearing, but I think it would just be like sitting outside of a building. I don't think that we'd get to hear or see anything, but it would be it's gonna be fun. Like the leaks will be spectacular. I hope that the coverage from the media is heavy because I think it's gonna be a great run for us. JG, thank you for the deuce. Nevada, can we expect leaks from June 6th and 7th? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's going to be a lot, and as you mentioned, I don't think the Central Michigan thing gets nearly enough, coverage, and they've. I mean, the fact that a head coach lost his job over that. I mean, the Jake Costner guy obviously torpedoed his career. The head coach lost his job over that, and Michigan doesn't feel like something's going to happen to them. I mean, Central Michigan is just a bit player in this whole thing. They're just like the supporting actor letting the guy on the sidelines with the recording glasses. I mean, he was a full-time employee of Michigan spying on Michigan State from Central Michigan sideline. I mean, but like you said, McElwain lost his job. So how can Michigan not expect their head coach to lose his job over this? Especially he's the guy that was already on probation, and then he started destroying evidence in the thing. And one of the texts in the thing, the probably the most damning text was Connor Stallion saying, "Hey, I want to bring Jake Coster from Central Michigan over to meet you." I guarantee you that's the one that he wanted to have deleted from his text chain. That's the one. It
Yeah.
wasn't about cupcakes or who's going to bring bagels on Bagel Monday or whatever it was. It was about that because that was bad. They know it's bad. And even in the most generous reading of that, it reads really, really bad. And it just goes to the fact that Sharon Moore knew what was going on. He knew about this little scheme. What else was Jake Costner from Central Michigan, the guy who gave countersigns the Central Michigan scouting out the coach's outfit to go on the sideline? What else would he want to talk to Sharon Moore about? Like, come on. I mean, Sharon,
Yeah.
you're don't be that dumb.
Yeah. And again, I just looked this contract up. So, Jim McElwain retired, and again, 62 years old. He had 2 years left on his deal. Over $1 million a year, $1 million plus incentives, so probably about $1 million a year. So, when you're 62 years old, that's relatively young for coaching standards. And Dick LeBeau was 80 years old still, because Belichick's like 78. So he's 16 years older than this guy. And, these guys, if they can get a head coaching job and make 7 figures, like, they're going to do it, and they're not going to walk from it. So again, the Central Michigan thing, that was a, hey, you can either resign and you can either retire, or we're going to fire you. But either way, we're not going to pay you. So if you want to save face, because again, I think that obviously he had something to do with it because he let him in there, but it's just, I think Central Michigan did it the right way, because how do you put the flame out of all of this? You fire the guy, because then you don't have people asking about him. Because if he is still there, then he's still a central part of the whole Michigan thing. Because it's amazing. Michigan fans are, no, we didn't do anything wrong, and Connor Stalions is just a genius. I'm like, well, he was on an opposing team's sideline scouting Michigan State in person. So that's indisputably illegal. So if he wants to say some sort of a genius and could read signs and read minds and read fortune teller cards on the sideline, and he didn't have to do any of the advanced scouting that everybody knows that he did, and there's video of the stuff that he did, the Central Michigan stuff is really bad. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some leaks throughout the proceedings. So yeah, this is going to be a spicy month, Nevada. All right, Nevada, Game 7's on. Let's wrap this thing. Any final thoughts?
No, just appreciate you guys being here. Michigan recruiting, hitting these kids. Michigan NIL, they're not contributing. And they're the smart ones. The smart ones are the guys
Oh
that are
yeah.
finally putting away the checkbooks and saying, not giving money to this crooked program until this whole thing's kind of adjudicated. And that's bad news for Michigan short term, bad news for Michigan long term, and just bad news all the way around.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, what's going to happen to these kids when the deals don't come to fruition? Because fundraising is hard, guys. I'm on the inside of Ohio State's NIL fundraising. I hear the numbers, and we just won a national championship. We have maybe the best team returning in the entire country. We have great recruits coming here, great retention, and it's still hard for us to raise money. So again, it's and again, we're going to hit it. We've got our targets, and we're going to hit the threshold. But we just won a national championship. Imagine if we were going through what Michigan's going through. It's not going to look good. People are going to transfer out. Any final thoughts about it, and get out of here?
No, that's a great example because for Ohio State, it's challenging. It's a challenging environment to raise money and do it year after year. Imagine doing it coming off a 5-loss season into a season where you'd be lucky to have 5 losses, into a season where you're lucky to not have a multiple year bowl ban and have your national champion wiped out. If I was a Michigan fan, if this was happening in Ohio State right now, I would be despondent. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's bad for fundraising. That's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Again, Caden Dixon White tomorrow night. It's going to be a late one. I think 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock his time, probably about half hour. We'll do our normal show at 7:10. So I will. I'll pass it on to you guys. Again, I appreciate you guys so much for being on here. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. And if you were the group that gave us that the 5-star reviews, that's awesome. If you guys write us a quick review, that'd be amazing. Subscribe to the show. Again, we keep trying to push it and grow it as best as we can. But I appreciate you guys so very much. So that being said, something to enjoy a little Game 7 ice hockey. Florida is pushing the pace right now, so go Cats. But hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much. Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7:10, potentially at 11 p.m. too. So it's going to be a late one. We're going to have a double show. So, but I'll talk to you guys, and I hope you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.